Board of County Commissioners Board Work Session. It is Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. It is 2:04 p.m. This session is set to go until 2:30 p.m. This is a hybrid meeting. I am Carolina Mejia, Chair of the Board. I am joined today by Vice Chair Ty Menser, Commissioner Gary Edwards, County Manager Ramiro Chavez, as well as Nicole Miller. Today in our agenda, we will be discussing the Racial Equity and Inclusion Council, and this meeting is being live streamed and it's available on the Thurston County YouTube channel. So with that, County Manager, do I hand it to you first?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was looking forward to this briefing. Nicole is going to walk you through where we are on the stand-in the Racial Equity Council. And we're going to hopefully dive a little more in detail is really as to how the board would like to move forward on the appointment of the members of the council themselves. Nicole is going to provide you with a couple of options, and each one of those has some pros and cons. And at the end, I'd like to probably hear some feedback. If it's not today, maybe soon thereafter, because we really like to hear your perception, mainly on the appointments. How the appointment process should go through of the potential members of the Racial Equity Council. Nicole?
Hello, good afternoon. Nicole Miller, Racial Equity Program Manager. Thank you for having me today. Is it okay if I pull up my PowerPoint now because this goes over? Okay, bear with me while I share my screen. Sorry, I just need to move this. Okay. So,
Slide mode. Presentation mode.
Presentation, oh. Sorry, hold on. I don't know how to do presentation mode. There we go. No, I don't, can you help me with that? I don't know how to do presentation.
From the current slide, you right there.
Okay. There you go. All right, sorry. Okay, it's been a while since I've had a Zoom PowerPoint. Okay, so based on resolution, it's 16097, that number is wrong, I apologize for that. You had approved, passed the resolution that identified that we would have, we would stand up a racial equity, the Thurston County Council on Racial Equity and Inclusion would have between 7 to 15 members who identify as Black, Indigenous, people of color. In the resolution, it also states that the members of the council will live or work in Thurston County and that they will be appointed by you, the commissioners. And that's really all that we outlined in the resolution about this specific membership. And so I have some suggestions or some recommendations based on the information that I gathered that I would like to talk to you about. So this is just a demographic breakdown of the county. I just wanted by district. And so I wanted you all to see just kind of what was represented in the districts. And we do not have, as you can see, there's approximately 1 in 3 people in District 2 identify as BIPOC. The numbers in District 1 and 3 are a little bit smaller. And so I just think that's interesting data for us to have because I think it helps kind of inform maybe where we can go with our council moving forward. So given the makeup of our county, and I went into, I have a data point that I went into and looked at kind of individually, like who lives where, how many Black and brown people live in Bucota, how many live in Lacey, and you can really get a lot of information out of that. And based on that, I think that if we approached standing up this council by asking for applicants at large, I think that we stand an opportunity to get a broad, diverse pool of people rather than if we identify slots or positions via each district. I'm suggesting that our council membership be open to ages 16 and up. I have a really good relationship with the youth and young adult serving agencies in our county, and I would really like to see a diverse age represented on our group, and so I think 16 and up is a good number to look at. Looking at people who are focused on social change in Thurston County. I mean, we really want people who have the energy and the passion to look at our policies and our practices and improve things in our county. People who have lived experience in systems of care, particularly our criminal justice system, our child welfare system, and our behavioral health system. Those are three very large systems that disproportionately impact people of color, and so again, doing broad recruitment within those systems, and I also am very comfortable within those systems as I have worked in all of them. I think having council members who also who have worked in those systems and can identify things that they want to see changed in that system. I think that people who have a passion around doing really good system work will benefit our council. Obviously, the desire to engage in pro-justice work in Thurston County. I really like to use language that's talking about what we want to do as opposed to what we're not going to do. And so I was very specific about pro-justice work in this PowerPoint as opposed to anti-racist work, just because I think pro-justice moves us forward. And then I would recommend that we have no currently elected officials or people who have declared their candidacy to run for office on our council. And I think, part of that is I think disconnecting our racial equity work from elected officials and from the schedule of election cycles, I think will be really important. I think that if racial equity work should not be contingent on who is in office. And so just if people are citizens at large or residents at large, I apologize, residents at large, I think that it will allow this momentum to keep moving. Any questions so far?
Questions, commissioners?
No, I don't have any questions. Sounds like a plan.
Thank you, Commissioner Edwards. Commissioner Menster?
I'm tracking, no questions at this point.
Okay.
Wait, I actually do. Nicole, when you talked about the percentages, we always talk about, in fact, I think at lunch you mentioned, and I always hear 25%, but the commissioner districts are all equal population. So if these numbers are right, it has to be more than 25% countywide.
So it's the percentage of people within the district that identify as BIPOC. So it's not going to add up to 100.
Well, I know, but the average of 25, 28, and 35 is higher than 25.
Countywide.
So
Because I always hear it's 25% countywide, but you're saying it's 25% in District 3. It's actually higher in Districts 1 and 2, which means the countywide number would be more like 28 or 29.
Yeah, that is a good point.
that is a good point.
Unless we're counting different things and the data's coming from different sources. That's what I'm basically asking. Because if I talk about 25% all the time, and if it's 30, then I want to know that because that'll inform other things that I say to the community.
Sure, no, that makes complete sense. So the US Census data is the 25%. This data was from, I got it from GeoData, so they might have used I can check on that. Let me get back to you on that one.
Okay, thanks.
Nicole, my question was kind of along those lines of, I guess I'll point me and Ramiro out with the Hispanic nationality, the two-part question of, we have to fill that one out. And then after that, the next option is, so I was just wondering for the consensus on that data where, there's not really an option for Latinos. It's marked under, how is it split up, Ramiro? We have talked about this many times before.
Yeah, there is, the way we used to check the box changed. So there's really not there's asking for more of a background as opposed to racial heritage. Because as I recall, check the box of background, nationality, and then we have to pick whether we are white race or, so it's a little bit different. And I think that might be probably the source of deviation from the data.
Yeah.
The numbers are slightly different when you do Hispanic, non-white versus Hispanic white, but this, yeah. So I'll get clarification on the percentage for you, definitely.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions before I move on?
Commissioner Menser, go ahead.
So this kind of bridges this slide and the next slides, but I looked at this stuff over and I was wondering if the concept of a stipend for participation was mentioned. I hear this a lot when I hear about best practices for engaging in, trying to recruit members of potentially disadvantaged communities. The state just passed a bill. I just learned in a meeting this morning that they passed a bill authorizing up to $200 annual stipend for all work on state committees. So I was wondering if that's something that we could discuss, or did you consider and decide that's not a good idea, or how does that play into all this?
So, Commissioner, certainly that is an opportunity to have a discussion with the board, but the resolution they passed specifically says no stipend will be issued.
I do remember that. Okay.
So, but certainly that is obviously, as you track, and not set in stone, and that could be something we can facilitate and amend that if that is the desire of the board.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
We do have a hard stop at 2:30.
Okay.
So you're tracking the time.
Okay, hard. I don't have a, oh, there it is. I was like, I can't see the clock on my phone. Okay, so this just talks about the outreach efforts that I think that we will be engaging in, or that I would like to see us engage in to recruit members for our council. And so really being intentional, and I'm talking about me primarily, but really being intentional about getting out into the county, into the smaller cities and towns in those rural areas of the county, and attending their events and activities, reaching into the community to talk about this council that we're standing up. But I plan on being very active in my in-reach and my outreach to the broader Thurston County area. I think we need to have some focused outreach also with our youth and young adult serving organizations. You can see that those are on there. Attending events and activities across the region while this application is open, so that I'm going to cultural events, civic organizations, local businesses, speaking about this, so that it's not, so that there's lots of talk about this council that we're going to be standing up, using social media posts, news briefings. We're going to do a Thurston Talks article. Those are more traditional ways. And then word of mouth. I'm a talker, as you know, and so I know we've discussed. And so really talking about this council and letting people know that it's happening and that the amazing things that Thurston County is going to be doing. Okay. So any questions about?
Maybe you can just finish the presentation and.
Okay, so I did wrap up in addition to the standing up the council, there's a couple other things I wanted to tell you all about. The racial equity work group, which is an internal work group that we have stood up. As you can see, the focus is to create a culture of belonging in Thurston County government. It's the #1 global business trend across the nation in organizations. And so focusing on that puts us in a good position along with everybody else. We have 22 members across all county departments on this internal work group. Doug Ma is serving as an external consultant at this time. And then those meetings, that work group is facilitated by myself. We meet once a month. And then these are some of the deliverables. So our monthly meeting, we have established a charter, community agreements already. We have participation, members of the work group are participating in the board proclamations. Linda was there yesterday, which was amazing. I watched it on TV. I loved that proclamation yesterday on Women's History Month. This group is offering twice monthly lunch and learns. We're doing a monthly book club, which the first meeting to just talk about how often we're gonna meet is tomorrow. And then we have formed 5 subcommittees, and those subcommittees are working on, as you can see, recruitment and hiring, internships and workforce development, language access, training, staff development opportunities, and then celebrations of culture. And so those work groups will also be meeting and will be engaging in activities related to those deliverables. A couple other things, the work plan recommendations have been written. We're doing a GARE survey over the summer, the Harvard Implicit Association test. We'll be doing a 21-day race equity challenge in the fall, hopefully, which I'm gonna write specifically for Thurston County because you can adapt your race equity challenge for your local area. We'll be having ongoing celebrations of culture. And some of this hasn't started yet. It's a progression across the year. We have work group members on the Policy and Procedures Committee, including me, so there'll be a racial equity lens on every single policy and procedure that we discuss. And then these are just some things to consider for 22 and beyond, or 2022 and beyond. I would like, and these are based on best practices on what works to implement racial equity initiatives in your offices. But I would love to see us do a new employee connection and engagement practices, and I can talk more about what that would look like if you're interested. We have taken some initial steps with an internship and bridge program with South Puget Sound Community College in the assessor's office. I'd like to see us engage in an employee mentorship program where we have leaders in the county mentoring people, a salary dashboard, affinity and caucus groups for our staff of color, and suggesting embedding racial equity work into our professional development and promotional opportunities. So those are just things for your consideration based on best practice. And that's it.
Commissioners, can you stop sharing?
Yes.
So on your briefing paper, we provided you 3 options. And this gets down to the mechanics of the appointment. As you have, you exercise your legislative process in appointing members of many different committees and boards and committees. Some committee memberships are large, some are by district, and some are based on a specific area of expertise. So the proposal that we have for you is the options that we have for you. Option number 1 is, and that will be probably from the staff's perspective, preferred alternative to be the selection at large. So all the members in the committee perhaps could be at large without having a specific district. Option number 2 gets down to really you want to organize the membership by districts, 1, 2, 3, and the conversation, if that is the direction the board likes to take, is how many members per district you would like to do. And last is whether the board will consider option number 3 is to be specific to the demographics of the county as a whole, based on the BIPOC numbers, the percentages we have provided, although we're going to clarify that. So those are the mechanical aspects of the appointments that also we would like to leave this with you. Obviously, you can exercise that at some point later. I can probably bring this back in a couple of weeks and facilitate that conversation. But at this point, that's really probably one of the key elements that we would like to get your direction.
Commissioner Menser, go ahead.
So I like, the option 1 for the reasons Nicole said. I guess one concern I have, and I don't have an answer, so maybe this is something that you guys could chew on and try to address. I don't mind them being all at large, but because Olympia and Lacey have their own councils, I do want to make sure that people from the unincorporated areas have seats. Now, whether we say that, has to include from both, and we just leave it open. I don't want it to just be like all the people from Olympia that didn't make it onto their council get onto our council, because we are the county and we have a broader constituency and we have different considerations across our rural areas. So I just want to make sure it doesn't need to be divided up by district, but I do want to make sure that our non-municipal areas have people that are there. I don't know how to incorporate that into this structure, but I think that's important.
No, that's a good point.
Commissioner Edwards, any questions, comments?
No, but I think Ty's got it right on target there.
Yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards that first option. Nicole, I think this is a great job that you did. I agree with you and not having elected officials or candidates. We do not want this to become political at all. So I'm definitely in agreement with you on that. Definitely, I agree with Commissioner Menser's point and having, that definitely split up and seeing how we can get more input from all of Thurston County instead of just the main hubs. So, Ramiro, what are the next steps?
So the next steps, I will probably, let me come back. Let's work with Nicole to see how we can address that concern. What I call is geographical equity. That's the words that I just came up with.
It's a good one.
So I think it's something that whether we need to add on the application or maybe on strategies or way of deciding by the board, but maybe a geographical equity may be something that we need to add within the process. So let us give us a week, and we'll come bring this item to your next agenda setting, not next week, in a week, and then we provide you with some options, and then I will ask you to formally give us direction on the options. Will that work?
Yes, that will work. I see a thumbs up from Commissioner Menser. Commissioner Edwards, does that work with you?
Yes, it does. I think it's great.
Okay,
Perfect.
great. If there's, go ahead, Commissioner Menser.
I just want to say, Nicole, I really enjoyed the brown bag, or not brown bag, but the lunch and learn session today, and good job. And I really appreciate all this work.
Thank you. I appreciate your support and attending. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'll echo that. This is a great thing that you're doing. I am also just so happy to see how much engagement there are from the employees and how many of them just show up during their lunch hour for this. It makes me very happy.
Well, it was close to 50.
Yeah.
And the big takeaway was that people are really focused on hiring practices. And
Yes.
I mean, and it's important because we're trying to recruit and we're hiring in all different departments, and there could be some variability, but there could be some things that we want to do as a county, like we want to do consistently across the county. So that seems to be maybe something for the top of your list, or Ramiro, you and Ramiro, and all of our list.
Yeah, and
There's clearly interest in that.
On the contract to go through the class and comp study, I added an element of looking into hiring practices. So I think at some point we need to blend those two efforts and see how we can probably make the best out of that investment.
Great. Well, thank you again. And if there's no further comments, questions, we will adjourn. And we will be back at 2:30 for an executive session. Thank you.
Thank you.